He spent his life moving forward because staying felt too dangerous. Every photograph was a step, every step an escape. Until he met a woman who was afraid of the last one. She hesitated at beginnings. He ran from endings. To love her, he would have to stop running and choose where to stand. Because the hardest step isn't the one that moves you forward. It's the one that asks you to stay.
If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Thank you for being here.
Julian Moreau had always believed that movement was a form of freedom. At 32, he lived out of a suitcase as much as he lived in his small Paris apartment. As an urban photographer, he chased moments in transit, people crossing streets, climbing staircases, stepping onto trains just as doors closed. His work was praised for its sense of motion, its refusal to settle. What no one noticed was that Julian never photographed arrivals. Stillness made him uneasy. It suggested permanence, choice, consequence. His relationships followed the same pattern: intense beginnings, quiet disappearances. He left before expectations could take root, before love could ask him to stay. Leaving was easier than explaining. Distance felt clean, predictable. Julian told himself this was independence. In truth, it was avoidance, and he was very good at it. The call came on a rain-soaked evening beneath the city. Julian was photographing a metro station staircase, drawn to the repetition of hurried feet and blurred coats, when something broke the rhythm. A woman stood perfectly still near the bottom step, the crowd flowing around her like water around stone. One foot hovered above the final step. She wasn't frozen by fear. She seemed suspended. Julian lifted his camera instinctively. The shutter clicked, sharp and final. She turned. Their eyes met, and Julian felt a jolt, unexpected, disarming. Not attraction alone, but a strange sense of familiarity, as if he had interrupted a private moment that somehow included him. "Did you just take my picture?" she asked. Yes, I'm sorry." She studied him, then smiled gently. "It's all right. I was listening." "Listening to what?" She glanced down at the step beneath her. "To myself." Her name was Elise, and she was afraid of taking the last step.
Julian told himself it was coincidence when they met again. A cafe near the station, a shared table, a conversation that lasted longer than expected. Elise spoke openly, carefully choosing her words, as if afraid they might slip away if mishandled. She told him about a decision she had once delayed too long, a job, a move, a life that waited for her hesitation to end before disappearing. Since then, she lingered at thresholds. Beginnings and endings terrified her. Julian listened, unsettled, because her fear mirrored his own, only inverted. She was afraid to move forward. He was afraid to remain. When she asked about him, why his photos were always about movement, why he never seemed rooted anywhere, Julian smiled and deflected. "I like keeping my options open," he said. What he didn't say was that staying felt like stepping into a cage. The call was clear now, and Julian refused it. The mentor appeared in a familiar voice from Julian's past. Mark, his former photography teacher, invited him to a small exhibition. Mark had once been celebrated for his restless travel photography, until one day he stopped moving and began photographing the same street every morning. Julian didn't understand that choice. As Mark studied Julian's recent work, he said quietly, "You photograph motion beautifully, but you never show where it leads." "So," Julian replied, "movement is the point." Mark shook his head gently. "Movement without arrival is escape." The words struck deeper than Julian expected. "Staying doesn't mean being trapped," Mark continued. "Sometimes it means being brave enough to choose one place and one person and see what happens." That night, Julian lay awake, thinking of Elise on the staircase, her foot hovering in the air. For the first time, he wondered if freedom wasn't about leaving, but about daring to stay.
Julian crossed the threshold quietly, without ceremony. There was no dramatic declaration, no promise spoken aloud. The shift happened in small, almost invisible ways. He stayed after their coffee grew cold. He suggested another walk instead of an easy goodbye. He returned home without booking his next train ticket. For the first time in years, his suitcase remained unpacked. With Elise, time behaved differently. Conversations unfolded slowly, without the urgency Julian usually felt when things became too real. They spoke about fears more than dreams, about the moments they regretted not choosing, about how standing still could feel heavier than moving forward. Julian noticed something unsettling. Staying did not suffocate him the way he had always imagined. It terrified him more than leaving ever had. Crossing the threshold wasn't about committing to Elise yet. It was about committing to presence. And once he had done that, there was no way back to the comfort of constant escape. Staying revealed truths movement had always hidden. Julian discovered how restless he became when days passed without change. Silence made him uneasy. Elise discovered how doubt crept in whenever choices demanded courage. Each carried wounds shaped by opposite fears, but they collided in the same place. Their first test came with intimacy, not physical closeness, but emotional exposure. Elise spoke about the life she might have had if she had acted sooner. Julian spoke about the relationships he had abandoned before they could ask for more. Sometimes the enemy appeared as misunderstanding, sometimes as withdrawal. When arguments arose, Julian's instinct was to disappear, to retreat into motion, into distance. But Elise didn't chase him. She waited. That waiting unsettled him. It forced him to confront the truth. Leaving had always been his shield. Without it, he felt exposed. Their allies were quieter things, shared routines, mornings without rush, the safety of being seen without performance. And slowly, trust began to replace fear, though fear never fully left.
The ordeal arrived disguised as opportunity. Elise received an offer she had once dreamed of, an important position in another city, one she had almost taken years ago, before hesitation cost her everything. This time, there was no second chance. She had days to decide. They stood together at the metro station where they had first met. The staircase was unchanged, the same concrete steps, the same echo of movement around them. Elise stood with one foot hovering above the final step, her expression calm but fragile. "This is the last one," she said. "If I don't take it now, I never will." Julian felt the familiar pull to run. Distance whispered promises of safety. If he left now, he could avoid the pain of waiting, of hoping, of possibly losing her anyway. But something inside him resisted. For the first time, leaving felt like betrayal, not of Elise, but of himself. He realized the truth with startling clarity.
He wasn't afraid of losing her. He was afraid staying and discovering he truly cared. The ordeal demanded a choice Julian had avoided his entire life. Stay and risk being hurt, or leave and remain untouched and unchanged. As Elise waited for his answer, Julian understood that whatever he chose next would define who he became. Julian didn't stop Elise. He didn't ask her to stay, didn't ask her to choose him over the future she had once lost. Instead, he did something far more difficult. He stayed present. "I'm not afraid of you leaving," he said quietly. "I'm afraid of pretending I don't care." The words felt like a blade cutting through years of avoidance. Elise looked at him, truly looked at him, and for the first time she didn't feel alone on the edge of that step. The reward wasn't certainty, it was honesty. Julian had claimed the one thing he had always avoided, the courage to remain emotionally open even when the outcome was uncertain.
Life didn't resolve itself immediately. Elise accepted the offer. Distance returned, not as an escape, but as a test. They learned a new rhythm built on patience rather than impulse. Julien discovered that waiting required more strength than leaving ever had. He stayed in the city. For the first time, his photographs changed. He captured doorways at dawn, empty staircases, rooms filled with traces of presence. Stillness became his subject. The road back wasn't about returning to the old Julien. It was about walking forward without running. Months later, Elise came back. Not permanently, not temporarily, intentionally. They met again at the same metro station, at the same staircase, but this time there was no hesitation in her posture. She took the last step. Julien stood beside her. He felt the familiar fear, but it no longer controlled him. He had been resurrected not as someone fearless, but as someone willing to stay when fear appeared. Resurrection wasn't transformation into someone new, it was becoming who he had avoided being. Julien returned to the world with a truth he carried quietly, deliberately. Freedom was never about movement, it was about choice. He still traveled, but he returned. He still photographed motion, but he understood arrival. He loved without guarantees, without escape plans. The elixir he brought back was simple and profound. The last step is not the hardest because it moves you forward. It is the hardest because it asks you to stop running. And in choosing to stay, Julien discovered that love wasn't a loss of freedom. It was the place where freedom finally learned to rest.
If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. It truly supports the channel and helps more stories find their way to the right hearts.